Hello everyone, my name is Sundert and I'm once again back with another tier list video. I enjoyed doing the last one, so now it's time for the historic world war map. I found a tier list luckily for this, so if you want to do it yourself, you can go to this one. I'll set a link in the description. I did have to add Egypt, Spain and Yugoslavia though, so it's complete now, but not if you click the link. So yeah, this time instead of just ranking them from our memory, I will just join the actual map and look at what the start gives you. So yeah, let's start with Venezuela. Alright, so here is Venezuela. We have the new war bonds as well, but who gives a shit about that if we are doing a tier list. We start with 11 units, which is quite poor. But let's see what the units actually consist of. It's militia, a destroyer, 2 infantry, 1 armored car, 1 sub, and 1 fighter. So that's quite shit actually. What we can do is take over Colombia because that cannot be a player. You can take over the entire Caribbean with a lot of capital, so you will morale boost your cities all the way to 100% if you are efficient. You do have England next to you though, so if you want to take this amount of land, you will have to declare war on England. I don't know if they will take kindly to that. And of course you have big boy Brazil with a lot of land, a lot of economy, so that's not great. And you have the USA, Mexico, Canada above you as well, so yeah, I just don't think you can really do anything with Venezuela. It's not the worst country because you have everything in one place. You have enough cities of every resource to actually build up an economy and produce an army. But no, I do not think Venezuela is one of the big powerhouses on the World War map, no. For now, I think I'll put Venezuela in E. Maybe if we come across even worse countries, it will get moved up, but for now it's in E. So next up we'll be taking a look at Tibet. So here we are. This time we only have 10 units. Let's see what they are made of. 7 level 2 militia, 2 anti-tank, 1 infantry. So Tibet looks like it's really defendable because anti-tank are really defensive units. Also mountains are quite good. But the travel times with militia and over mountains is extremely slow. Just 4.5 hours for this little amount of distance. Your neighbors are also pretty big because you have naturalist China and British India. You probably will be on the chopping board rather quickly playing as Tibet. You can take really defensive positions though, because artillery in mountains have a plus 50% damage, so that is something that you can make use of. Also when you're attacking, because you're not the only one who has mountains. China has them, India on this border has them, this British territory also. So if you can make some artillery, you can use it. Just like with Venezuela, you have a resource city for every resource, so that's good. You have level 1 industry, which is also really nice. But it's just the same story as Venezuela, I think. You're also squished by 2 superpowers. This time they're not really as good as the USA or something, but they do border you directly. So if they decide to invade you, you're pretty much boned. So with that, I think I want to place Tibet also in the E tier, but behind Venezuela. I think Venezuela is a better starting location, but not by a lot. So next up we'll be taking a look at Brazil. So here we are in Brazil. This time we have 24 starting units. So they consist of 6 militia, 10 infantry, cruiser, destroyers, anti-tank, interceptor, armored car and a battleship, which is really nice. You have quite a lot of resources because industry in every city, and you have more than one resource city, so you will be making a lot. Right now Brazil is making 500 an hour of everything, but of course the morale still needs to go to 100%. I just think Brazil is really solid. It's bad because it's big, I guess, but your neighbors aren't that powerful. As we saw with Venezuela, they only have 10 starting units, so you could easily defend from it. And you have big provinces, so it does take a while before they trickle into your main cities. You can take Bolivia really easily, Peru, Colombia, Uruguay for all the morale boost. And when you have the entire continent of South America, which shouldn't be too hard, you can probably take Africa because they're just colonies of the European nations. Or you can bring the fight to North America. If you are a better player, you can probably get the USA. But yeah, I do actually think Brazil is really solid. So Brazil, they're of course on their own continent. You will have to travel in the water to get anywhere else. But I do think they are a really solid beat there. So next up is Xinjiang. So here we are in Xinjiang. For some reason the Soviets gave us open map, but that's alright. We are starting with 12 units. It of course consists of an infantry, militia, artillery, anti-air and armored car. I think Xinjiang is also very similar to Tibet and also to Venezuela. They are bordered this time with the Soviet Union, but it's unlikely that they will immediately attack you because they have Poland, Romania, Finland, Japan, so they will probably not instantly go for you. But you still have nationalist China, you have British in India, so and Tibet of course. You have cities that will produce every resource, so that's alright. But yeah, just more of the same. It doesn't really change anything. I think it's just really similar to Tibet. So Tibet will go in the E tier behind Venezuela and behind Tibet because you also have the Soviet Union to worry about when you choose to play Xinjiang. So next up we will be ranking Mexico. So this time we start with 23 units, which is respectable. It's mostly infantry units, anti-tank, some destroyers, 2 cruisers and armored car. So you do actually have enough units to probably take these AI countries, so you can boost your cities to 100% maybe within a day or two. But of course the main threat is that the USA is right on your border, which is not really something you want. You do have more than 5 cities though. You do have 2 cities for your food. One of them produces significantly less than the other one, but it's a luxury. Also your allied doctrine, you have some airfields already ready to go, so you can spam planes if you want to. Well, we hit a research, so you can just, oh, I don't have high command, but you can just spam them. You already have harbors in place, so you can also attack the main city for oil from the United States. People from South America will probably not go after you in the first few days, so you got that going for you. I think the main thing for Mexico is just that they border the USA, and that's already bad enough. USA only has 2 countries that it can focus on, of course Canada. USA only has 2 countries to really worry about, which is Canada and Mexico. I can't imagine Canada having much more military than this, so I think you're in danger. So Mexico is quite a tough one to rank because it's not as bad, I feel like, as the rest of the E tier, because they only have 1 superpower to worry about, and they do have some luxury with having 1 city extra. They can boost their morale by taking a lot of AI countries. They can spam bombers. I think because of that, if the USA guy doesn't really know what he's doing, you can maybe take North America. So I'm gonna place Mexico in the D tier. So next up we'll be ranking Canada, which is this one. So here we are as Canada, and as you can see USA is already attacking us, so this just proves that our theory that USA can be really aggressive against Canada. The major problem is this huge border, also the border here, because USA probably has some units in Alaska, while we don't have anything on the border. But the major problem with Canada is that its main cities are on the border with USA, so Quebec, the oil producing city, Montreal, Ottawa, Toronto. They can all easily be captured by the USA, so that's not great, first of all. Also Vancouver, which is also one of the main producing cities, is on the border. But the economy of Canada is pretty alright, because you almost have a double city for every resource. So that's pretty good. You start with 21 units that are, well, they are better than the ones that we've previously seen. Some high level infantry could be good, some destroyers. and some cruisers. But I don't think it's enough to keep USA at bay. Like Mexico, you're also allied, so you can just produce bombers if you want to, and maybe repel the American invasion, but maybe it's not going to happen. I do think because of this that Mexico has a way better spawn. Mexico can actually take some capitals while US Canada cannot really do that. The closest one is USA, and I don't think you're gonna capture that so easily. So I will probably put Canada in the D tier, but behind Mexico, because I think Mexico is just better, realistically. So next up on the chopping board is Peru. So here we are as Peru. As you can see, we don't have a lot of army, but that was predictable. We have 11 units. There are just some infantry and also some other units. You do have a city for every resource, but one of them doesn't have a level 1 industry, which is weird. Furthermore, you can take this country. I don't know what it is because I'm on the Japanese server. You can also take Bolivia. You could also take Peru, but that's a really treacherous route. But you're of course bordering Brazil, and also you're close to Venezuela and Argentina. But now the question is it better or worse than Tibet or Xinjiang? I do think Brazil is less of a superpower than, of course, the Soviet Union. I think they are comparable to India and nationalist China. But there's only one of him and two of them, so I do think Peru has the edge over Tibet. So Tibet will enter the E tier, but it will, well, it's kind of comparable with Venezuela actually, but I do think Venezuela has more options because they can go north and take some islands, and that's not easily grabbable for superpowers like USA or Brazil, because they will be doing something else, of course. So Peru will take place here. So next up will be South Africa. So here we are at South Africa. As you can see, we only start with 10 units. Some infantry, tank, militia, armored car, so really nothing special. We have a city for every resource, so that's nice. We also have this one, which is an extra food city, so not bad. I think the power of South Africa is actually the colonies here, because they are all European powers apart from Egypt. So you could go to war with England or Portugal, Belgium, France, and they will probably not care as much because they are occupied in Europe. France has Germany to worry about, England has France to worry about, and you know, all those guys are worrying about each other. And you can just, South Africa, take the whole of Africa actually. Brazil is a powerful nation. It's by far the most powerful nation out of South America, but he will take a little while before he has the entire continent, while I think South Africa really can really be fast. Oh, the starting units of South Africa are not comparable to Brazil of their economy, but I don't think it's much worse than Brazil. I think you can have a really good chance. Also, from my experience, I often see South Africa doing well, so that's also a sign that they are doing pretty okay. So I think South Africa will be our first C tier because they don't have any super powers to worry about, and they can expand rather quickly. So next up will be fan favorite Poland. So here we are as Poland, and as you can see we have 32 units, which is a big improvement from the other countries that we've ranked so far. It mostly consists of some militia, a few tanks, a few infantry units, and also a really small navy. The cities are also pretty okay. You have your good city, oil, food, rare materials, metal, even more food. Or the Allied Doctrine, so you can spam planes wherever you want. There's some nice forts on the border with Germany, and also a few on the Russian border. If you would consider the things we've talked about so far, Poland would rank actually pretty high. But of course it has the unfortunate position, just like in history, to be a neighbor to the Soviet Union and also to the German Empire. So I think this one is quite easy to rank. I think Poland, due to unfortunate positioning, has to be an F tier. So next up will be France. So here we are as France. As you can see, we have quite a lot of units. So let's actually see. We have 104 units. And they mainly consist of high level infantry, also some pretty good battleships. Other navy that is rather impressive. Also some other high level infantry. We are the Allied doctrine, so we can just pump out planes to defend against Germany. To improve our morale, we can take Luxembourg, Belgium, Netherlands, Switzerland. The economy is okay-ish, it's not great, but if you build a few factories in your main cities, of course, then you will get a pretty good economy. You also have some territory overseas, so Africa is defended not by a lot. So like I said in the beginning with South Africa, you can probably take this entire area. Yeah, the African continent is not really that good. It's mostly infantry, so if you make a few tanks in South Africa, you should be good. Also have some territory here. It's all not really defended. So you also have some stuff in South America, but you will almost certainly lose it. So yeah, the main thing France has to worry about is of course England, Germany, Italy. See, Italy is already moving forward, but they have some really impressive fortifications on the border. Also the historical line of fortifications. Yeah, some good ships, so you could eventually defend against England. I think France is just a really solid pick, especially if you can ally with some of the European countries. But even if you don't, I think you have a pretty good chance of taking them out. And I think France will definitely have to go in A tier. So next up we have India. So here we are with India. Let's see what the army is all about. There are some infantry units, some tanks, armored cars, anti-air, and a really small navy. The cities are quite good though. You have an extra oil city, steel and also food. You can also boost your morale by taking Kabul or the capital of Nepal or this capital. You could also take the colonies of England and France because you know they're far away, so why not? You do border Tibet and Xinjiang, but from our previous ranks we have seen that they are not really a threat. If you build your cities full with factories, your economy can become really good. You do have to build up a better army than this though, but you're not in danger of anything. So I think we can compare India with Brazil. When you get the economy running, you can actually become a powerful nation. I do think Brazil is in front of India because they have their own continent and they are pretty secluded. So next up we will be ranking Persia. So here we are as Persia. First look at the units. We only start with 9, which is really bad. Let's see. 5 are militia, 1 anti-air, 2 infantry and 1 fighter. So that's really poor. You do start with 5 cities, so you are not lacking any resources there. You do border the Soviet Union and he has so much border going on that he probably doesn't care about you. Also India, it's a small border. He will probably focus on all the guys here. And you can just take Iraq and Syria and all that stuff, Saudi Arabia. You also the Axis doctrine, so you can make some really powerful stacks. I don't know if you have to research medium tanks, but that will help a lot. I think Persia is one of those countries that has a lot of potential when you get it up and running. Maybe not as much potential as British India, but you do have a lot of potential because you can just take the Middle East, you can take Turkey. You can even challenge Africa. So I think Persia is really solid actually, even though the starting army is really bad, but India also has a really bad starting army, so it doesn't really matter. And so I think Persia will go in C tier. Next to South Africa, I think Persia is a little bit better. So next up on the ranking is my own country is the Netherlands. So here we are as the Netherlands. We only have this part in Europe, which produces oil. The starting army is nothing major, but if we look at the total unit, we actually come to a 29, but they are not here, obviously. All those units are here in Indonesia. These units are nothing special, just 7 militia for infantry, some naval units and some anti-air. You do share a border with Australia though, because Indonesia counts as a captured land. They do not produce a lot of resources like the one in mainland Europe does. Also not a lot of manpower. So if you lose your mainland Europe, which will definitely happen because Germany will attack you, England or France, you will lose a lot of manpower. You cannot really stop the invasion because you do not have enough units. If you want to win with Netherlands, I do recommend you just hold on to this city as long as possible until you eventually lose it, because that will probably happen. And then focus on Indonesia. Maybe you can take Australia, New Zealand, United Kingdom, France, Siam, all that stuff. But yeah, purely because all of this terrain doesn't count as your own terrain, so it produces very little. I think it's very challenging to actually win with Netherlands. I did try to win with Netherlands on an event map where all the countries are playable. We did end up winning, but I got carried hard and it wasn't as interesting of a video, so I didn't do anything with it. But it does prove that it is possible, maybe if your mainland doesn't get captured. Even though I have to stick up for my own country, I think Netherlands is F tier. They're not as boned as Poland, because as Poland you will just instantly die. When you're playing the Netherlands, at least you have a little bit of a fighting chance. So next up is China. Here we are as China. You can see you have a lot of land. We actually have 32 units, which is respectable. Or 150 points, so we have 15 cities. So we of course have our basic resources being produced, and then we have a lot of extra stuff still. So really nice. The army is not really great because we start with 23 militia. Militias are really bad. They are also really slow, and these are all mountains, so if you send one from the other side, from this province to this province, it will take 3 hours, so yeah. Militia is basically really useless. I know it's a sneaky unit and some people actually like using it, but I don't really care for it. The problem with China is that Japan spawns next to you, and he has a pretty good navy already. And we only have a few destroyers. There's also England with a rather good navy. Japan already has some territory on your border, so he can easily attack. And why wouldn't he? Because no, these guys aren't gonna stop anything. I do think as China, if you can survive Japan, you can really build up a nice economy. You can take the capital of this country, so you can boost your morale. Otherwise, you can't really take the other capitals, you can't reach it within a few days. Even though China starts with a lot more units and cities than India, I do think India has more potential. They are not as much in danger as China is from Japan. This might be a bit controversial, but I'm gonna put China in C tier. Just because Japan is really good. As you will see when we get to Japan, they will claim one of the higher spots on the list. But yeah, I think India and Brazil have much more growing potential than China does. So next up we'll be ranking Egypt. Sorry for the wrong flag, but I just chose the current one. So here we are as Egypt. Let's first take a look at the units. It only has 11 units, which is really poor. And they consist of some armored cars, militia, tank, infantry, a destroyer and a fighter. The cities are nothing special, they're just normal cities. I do think the potential that you have with Persia and with South Africa doesn't really count in Egypt, because if you decide to attack Italy, they can get to you pretty quickly. Turkey can also attack you. If you choose to invade England, you can, but there aren't really many cities to capture, and eventually you will come across South Africa. You can travel into the Middle East, but you'll have to deal with Turkey or Persia at one point. I just think Egypt doesn't have as much potential as some of the other countries with only 50 points. I think we can rank Egypt rather quickly, and it'll probably be in E at the end. I don't think Xinjiang and Tibet are that much better, but no, it's just not really good. Alright, so next up we'll be ranking Italy. So here we are as Italy. First up, let's look at the units. It has 62 units. We also start with 13 cities. Cities are pretty alright, you have a lot of buildings, so you can produce units right away. We're also an Axis country, so you're pretty tough. You can't really boost your morale by taking capitals, because taking Switzerland is not really something you want. Germany doesn't really spawn with a lot of units on the border, and if Germany gets occupied by taking Poland, the Benelux, or France, you can just walk in if you really want to. So I do think Italy has a really strong starting position. The border with France is pretty tiny, so you can defend that really easily. You're also in the mountains, so some artillery and you're set. The navy is also pretty okay, so you can bomb Marseille or the units here. You do have some colonies, but luckily Libya is really close by. Also Ethiopia is relatively close, so it is defendable, but there is a pesky England in the way. So yeah, Italy is actually really good if you know what you're doing and play it smart. So I do think Italy has a better starting position than France. I think they have the most potential because they're not in as much danger as France is. So I will be putting Italy in A tier, just in front of France, but not by a lot. So next up we will be ranking Turkey. So here we are as Turkey. We start with 20 units and also 7 cities. The extra cities are giving us more oil and also some food. The starting army is just like with others, riddled with militia, also some artillery, and an actual bomber. It's maybe one of the first time we've seen it in the lower point country. And some other stuff like navy. I think the argument that we made for Persia can also be applied with Turkey. Turkey has a lot of potential. Soviet Union will probably not attack because these are all mountains, it's really slow and stuff. And it just has a massive border to worry about. Greece is not a country that you can really play, so he will not be an issue. We can take Bulgaria rather easily. We can also take some colonies of France and England here. Because they are quite far away, they won't bother sending actual navies and troops towards here, I hope, for if you actually try and do this. Iraq can be easily taken, Saudi Arabia, the other countries here. You can also attack Egypt and start your journey in Africa. I think the difference between Persia and Turkey is that Turkey has a better starting army. Also they have more potential, they have more cities, better economy. So I do think Turkey has a little bit more potential than Persia does. So I think I'm gonna be ranking Turkey in high C tier, which is really good actually. Before making this video I didn't think I would be putting Persia, Turkey, South Africa and China in the same tier. But after doing some research and talking with some people, you know, it happened, so yeah, rather surprising, but I think it's fair. Now we'll be ranking Argentina. So here we are. Let's first look at the amount of army. Only 40. It's not really good, but it's doable. And also just 5 cities. So once again, not really special. They do have some level 2 industries. You don't see that too often. I think Argentina is really nice because of the boost you can get. There's a capital here, so you can march over there, boost your entire morale. Uruguay too. And also in Paraguay or Bolivia. You have lots of options. The only problem is that you're sharing a continent with Brazil. If he's a good player and knows what he's doing, then he will probably kill you very fast. But if he doesn't know what he's doing, you can probably take him because his starting army is also not good. So if he doesn't prepare, you can probably take him. Yeah, I don't think there's much to say about Argentina. Actually, if you can take Brazil, you have a very good chance to be in an end coalition or some sort. So I think Argentina, like the other countries that they share a continent with, will be in A, but I do think they will be better than Venezuela and Peru. So next up will be Yugoslavia. Alright, here we are as Yugoslavia. Let's first look at the amount of army we get. We only get 13 units, but we do get 7 cities. So we do get an extra oil city and also extra rare materials. I do think under normal circumstances that Yugoslavia is a pretty good country, just on its own. But its neighbors are pretty good. We have Italy, we have Germany. We even have Romania, which is like unequal to Yugoslavia. So you can boost your city morale by taking Bulgaria or taking Hungary, but they will just attack you quicker. Germany, Italy, and everything around you is basically better than what you have. I just do not think that you can make it out of Europe alive in most cases. I've also almost never seen Yugoslavia get really big. Maybe some of you have, but so I think Yugoslavia is a really poor pick for a historic World War map. So Yugoslavia will be put in F tier. I do think the Netherlands are a little bit better because if they lose their mainland, they can still do something with Indonesia, while Yugoslavia will probably lose everything in Europe and be done for the game, just like Poland. So let's rate one of the big boys, the Soviet Union. So here we are as a Soviet Union. Of course, we have a really big country. We start with 91 units, which is less than France, but that's alright. We do have 24 cities to make up for it. The cities that produce the most resources are mostly in the west, but there are also one in the middle and one in the right, as you can see right here. I do think the Soviet Union is extremely strong. If you make industries in a lot of cities, your economy will be insane. You also get a starting army that's alright. It is still Soviet equipment, but there's so much of it you should be able to make a dent in any country you come across. But yeah, it's mostly tanks, militia, some air force, not a lot of navy as well. So I do think that the Soviets are really strong, but there is a downside, and that is that they border so many countries. Of course, they border Poland, Romania, Turkey, Persia, Xinjiang, Mongolia, Manchukwo, and worst of all, Japan. They're also not far away from the USA. Yeah, let's start with Japan. Japan has a really good navy. You also have some units here, and this is one of your main cities that produces steel. And if you lose this, then it's gonna be a really long game. So yeah, I think that's a really big downside. The goods city and also the oil city are really protected because no one is really gonna reach here. Don't think Xinjiang or Mongolia will get that far. If you fortify the cities, of course, otherwise they can just walk in. The rest of the resource cities is in the west, with most of your units, so that's alright. So yeah, I do think this pick will be a bit controversial because people probably expect the Soviets to be in S tier. I don't really think they belong there. I think because of all the neighbors that they have, that they probably belong in low A tier. So next up will be the USA. So here we are as the USA. We start with 68 units, which is way more than Canada and Mexico combined. We also have 28 cities, so our economy could be really good. It already is, as you see here. As we saw with Canada, you can easily take the Canadian capital for a morale boost, so you should. But also defend from Mexico at the same time. If you're done with Canada, you can probably walk over Mexico, the entirety of Middle America, and then pick a fight with Brazil or whoever comes out of this continent. USA is actually one of the armies that are really good because they have high level battleships, high level infantry. I don't see, yeah, there's one militia. There's some nice planes, the navy is just really good. But you also have to think about the Philippines, but there's enough army here that they can probably stop a Dutch invasion if they haven't built up yet. But if you really want to protect your colony, you should probably make some battleships. The research that has been done is also pretty nice because you can instantly make level 2 interceptors and tactical bombers. You can also make medium tanks, and the navy is maxed out towards level 3, so you'll have a big advantage there. The main cities also look really good because you have a level 2 harbor. Here in the south by Mexico you have level 2 barracks. That's about it for level 2 production buildings. But yeah, overall USA really solid. You can easily take Canada and Mexico, and from there the sky's the limit. Yeah, so this might surprise you guys, but USA will be going top of A tier. If I can get it there, yes, there we go. But that's mainly because the S tier is like one level above, well literally actually, but they're just better in my opinion. So yeah, so next up will be Australia. So here we are as Australia. First up, 21 units, that's reasonable, I think. Also 8 cities. But I think the major strength of Argentina is that it's so secluded. You can take New Zealand without too much resistance. You could also take Indonesia without a lot of resistance, as we saw when we were reviewing the Netherlands. There aren't that many units here. Also, the same thing applies here. England won't just come down to defend his colonies, but you can take them also with France. And then you can pretty much just go up into Asia. You do start with some quite nice infantry, level 2, but the navy is really lacking, so you should really work on that if you are choosing Australia. They do have a lot researched, including battleships. These islands will also be close enough to send tactical bombers between them, so you can always do that. I think Australia is one of those countries with a lot of potential. They only have potential because there's no danger around them, but that also means that you can't really take over a lot in a short amount of time. I do think as Australia you can become a superpower with enough time, just like the other countries in C tier. So I'm just gonna place them here. I think Turkey has a little bit more potential, but since China is the cannon fodder for Japan, I think Australia is in a much better position, but not by a lot, obviously. Next up will be Sweden. So here we are as Sweden. Let's see how many units we have. We have 12. We also have 6 cities, so that's pretty nice. It's like we have one extra rare material city, so that's actually really useful. Well, let's see what we have here. Some level 2 infantry, armored car, cruiser. Finally no militia. It's actually a pretty good little army. To boost your main cities you can take Oslo and also Helsinki. Shouldn't be much of a problem. You can also get a foothold in Europe, well, mainland Europe, by taking Denmark. I think Sweden does have the same problem as all the other countries that are not as significant, like Yugoslavia, but there's water between Sweden and Germany, and also a country between them and the Soviet Union, so Sweden is in a much better place than Yugoslavia is, or Romania for that matter. I will be putting Sweden in D tier. Just like Canada and Mexico, they have a superpower right next to them, but they do have a little chance of actually defending themselves. I do not have the same feeling for all the South American countries because it's just almost impossible. If you do good with Sweden, you could actually win the game because if you take Europe, you're pretty much one of the best countries on the map. So I think Sweden could be a low-end D tier. It's not too far off from E because I do think you have the almost the same chance with these countries. It's just that Sweden is in Europe and a little bit more defended than Yugoslavia or Romania or something. So next up is Spain. So here we are as Spain. Let's first take a look at our army. We have 25 units, which is alright. We have 7 cities, so we should have a few double resource producing cities. Looks like it's oil and food. And the starting army actually does look quite nice, apart from the militia. Well, the worst thing for Spain is the positioning. You of course have a border with France, so if France decides to invade you because they have 4 times as many units as you do, then you're pretty much fucked. If France is occupied with Germany or England or whatever, you might have a chance to take them. You'll have to traverse some mountains, but it should be doable. You can take a nice morale boost from taking Lisbon as well. Don't really have any overseas territory apart from here in Africa. You're an Axis nation and there are also not many tanks researched, so that's also not the greatest. Also Navy, there's not really anything researched or in the Air Force. Now I just think other countries have a bit of an advantage by having more research than Spain has here at the moment. I think good players can make Spain work really well, but I don't think it's really beginner friendly. Yeah, so I'm kinda struggling with this one. I thought about putting them in the E tier, but I don't think they really deserve that low. I think Spain is more powerful than Sweden, but I think Sweden has a much better position. So for now, I'll just put Spain at the end of D tier. Well, next up is Manchukwo. So here we are as Manchukwo. Let's first take a look at the army. They only start with 10 units. Also, the units consist 40% of militia, one armored car, which is level 2, not bad. The research tree is pretty average. It's actually close to Spain, which is pretty funny. But also do not think Manchukwo is really anything special, because it borders Japan. Japan can easily roll over you. Even the Soviet Union could easily roll over you. Maybe against Mongolia that would be a fair fight, but yeah, I just don't see anyone winning from this position. You do have your regular cities, which is nice, but I don't think it's going to give you much of an advantage against your neighbors. So I think Manchukwo is not F tier, but I do think they are low E tier. Next up is the United Kingdom. So here we are as the United Kingdom. As you can see, we have quite a bit of units on our mainland. We also have some colonies here in South America. We of course have the Falklands, which is a bit controversial. We have a lot of Africa. We have some guys in the Middle East, and we also have some territory in Asia and Oceania. So the British Empire is by far the country that has the most territory all over the world. But let's concentrate on our main European island here. We start with 117 units, which is really good. The unit here consists of some strategic bombers, some fighters, even some sea bombers, regular bombers, high level normal units like anti-air. So as England you can probably really easily beat the Navy of France. Strategic bomber allows you to wreck his cities. If he doesn't have active fighters ready, then he's gonna have a really bad day. And just look at the range that this bomber has. You can even bomb a lot of Germany. Your overseas territories really aren't anything special. You can probably hold Kingston for a while for the extra oil. You probably shouldn't care about this territory here. You have quite a bit of land in Africa, so if you can kill South Africa, you have free range to pretty much take the entirety of Africa if you can beat their mainlands in Europe, of course. There are also plenty of opportunities to take capitals to boost your 70% up to 100. You can take Dublin, you can probably take some things in the Middle East, like this one and this one. Yeah, so I think overall England is extremely powerful. Now the question is, are they more powerful than the United States? So I'm gonna put the British Empire in top of A tier, if it will let me. Yes, there we go. It's not quite S tier, but I do think it's better than the USA, Soviet Union, France and Italy. So next up will be Romania. So here we are as Romania, quite compact. Let's first look at the army. We have 21 units, which is actually better than I expected. And they consist of some tanks, some infantry, of course militia, and a really small navy. The cities are looking quite good actually, because you have a level 2 industry in Bucharest for your oil city. You even have one extra city which is food. It's this one actually. And there's a lot of buildings already, so you can start producing right away. There are also access, so if you invade the Soviet Union you will have better units. There is an opportunity to grab Sofia for a morale boost. You can easily take Yugoslavia, but I don't think you're gonna really win in Europe as Romania, because you are a small country. Soviet Union is way too big. Also with German Empire. Pretty much Soviet Union, German Empire, Italy, France and England are all way better than you. But I have to say Romania did surprise me a little bit. Are they in a better position than Manchukwo? I'm not sure. I think they probably are not, because they have more superpowers to worry about. So I'm gonna be placing them at the end of E tier. Next up we'll be ranking Mongolia. So here we are as Mongolia. Let's first take a look at the army once again. We only have 12 units, which is shit. The army consists of 1 anti-tank, 4 infantry, 1 artillery and 6 militia. So I'm beginning to see a trend here in Asia that they all pretty much have the same army. It's all really bad. For a morale boost you can take the capital of Tanutuva, or however you pronounce it. You do border Japan, Manchukwo, China, Xinjiang and of course the Soviet Union. I think Mongolia is pretty much in the same boat as Manchukwo is and Xinjiang. So I don't think we have to think a lot about this. I think it's a little bit better than Manchukwo, not better than Egypt, so it will also be going into the E tier. So we're almost finished, but now one of the countries that you've all been waiting for is the German Empire. I didn't deliberately leave them out until the very end, but just because a map is very hard to find for either Germany or Japan. So here we are as Germany. Well, starting with the army of 115 units, which is almost the same as France and also the same as England, but these are excess units, so they should be much stronger. Oh, we have a nice air force, 11 interceptors, so we can pretty much defend from any air invasion from France or England. A good navy, 9 high-level submarines, so we can counter those battleships of the UK and also France. We also have a nice air force, so if units want to flank us, we can easily grab them off. A railroad gun for really long range, and some nice tanks. Research-wise, the infantry is researched pretty far. The ordnance is pretty alright. It's not that far along, but you can also, research it yourself. You have level 2 medium tanks unlocked, so I would definitely use those if I were you. All of the relevant airplanes are unlocked. You can of course try to use strategic bombers, up to you. You also have level 2 battleships unlocked, so I would definitely build those too. Well, as Germany, you are smack bang in the middle of Europe, but Poland is not really a challenge for you. You should be able to roll them up. France isn't the only one with heavy fortifications, also Germany has them on their side. You also have 12 cities, so you have a lot of duplicate cities producing resources for you. Like in real life, you can grab Denmark or Netherlands, Belgium, Luxembourg to get your morale up. So I think overall you guys might have expected this already, but it's a really solid pick. So I think Germany definitely belongs in S tier. And now Japan, last but certainly not least. So here we are as Japan. First take a look at the army, and they have 83 units. And we look at it as 21 infantry of level 2, which is pretty nice. 18 destroyers of level 3, 10 cruisers level 3, some high level fighters, level 3 battleships, also some aircraft carriers, and some submarines. So I think Japan by far has the best navy. There are of course also the Pan-Asian doctrine, so they have a lot of sight on them. Just look at this one. So if you're an active player, you can really make use of this. You can even expand really quickly when you're using your aircraft carriers, and you station some bombers on it or fighters, whatever you want. The economy is also pretty alright because you have 18 cities. And most importantly, you're also really safe from the rest of the superpowers because China doesn't really have anything on you. The Soviet Union is more or less here with his army. You can of course take his city here and he'll have a lot of steel problems the entire game until he grabs it back. With this navy you can easily take Oceania. US will most probably concentrate on the countries above and below it, so you'll have a bit of time to become a real superpower, and then you can challenge whatever comes out of Europe. So yeah, I'm a big fan of Japan. Usually they do pretty good in their map, so I think it's not a real surprise that they will join the German Empire in S tier. So that's our tier list. I hope you agree with it to some extent. If you want to share your own opinions, that's fine, but please keep it somewhat civil in the comments. So yeah, I'd love to hear what you guys think about this one. Also, big shout out to Moondoge. I discussed some options with him, and it really helped me to put this list together, so thank you. And thank you guys for watching another tier list video, and I'll see you guys next time.